okay.
Yeah. Everything looks good. Stephen Schnock got all excited on Tuesday and was really talking about it on his show too.
Oh, okay, I missed that.
A fair amount. So, which is cool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Checking some things. Mike's having a good week.
Yeah, I hope so. I haven't heard too much about his work, so hopefully it's good. It's not too much.
Yeah, not going crazy.
Yep. There we go.
Stuck. There we go. Okay. Ha. Good evening. Can you hear me, Phantom?
Hello.
Sound check.
Hopefully they can hear us. Yeah.
Oh, I certainly hope so. Everything looks like it's set good. All right, cool.
Yep. Good. Good.
Always. Hey, Nancy, good. So we gotta set you up for a date on Fantasy Mapping Show. Probably the next one.
Yep.
Probably the one in June. So I think we have a guest now, right? This week we couldn't really land one, so
No, they seem to be very kind of shy people that do fantasy maps. Except the listen me. Yeah. There's something wrong with us. Yeah.
I guess. Let's see here. I gotta update. That one's not updated. Is that what it is, Katana? Or are you just harassing them like everyone else? Ha ha ha, just kidding.
Oh, there's
You're
a lot
sick
of
in the
maps
Katana
that,
going.
yeah, that measures up, definitely.
Ha ha! That's a good one! It's bright and early here. Well, the Fantasy Mapping Show, okay,
Good.
between your D&D days, so you're saying you play D&D on Thursday and Saturdays, because the Fantasy Mapping Show is always on a Friday night.
Well, at least we have been so far, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, that week is this week coming up next Friday is the 20th, and then you and Alyssa and Ed and all them will be on the 21st.
Mm-hmm.
So we have that. We have the back-to-backs that week. We got 5 streams next week. What's up, Mike? Look at this. Oh, that's weird.
Hello.
There we go. Stretch out a little bit afterwards. I was just telling Adam, like, the next 2 Wednesdays I have stuff for my son for school as he's, next year he's going to junior high. So there's all like the pre-junior high stuff coming up. So. Oh, okay, because it's not set in stone each Friday in each month.
Then we have to figure out which Friday might work. Yep.
Yeah, but June I'm on vacation the week of the 19th through the 25th. I'm away.
We have to do it early or late.
Well, we're gonna Well, late is then it goes to July 1st. There's only 30 days in June, so it'll have to be 17th or the 10th.
Yeah.
So.
Well, if we can get air cannons on.
Yeah, figure out which one of those works.
We go at any time. Yep.
17th or the 10th.
Yep. Get you on the air queue. Awesome. Yep.
Hit this button here. So this is one tonight. I didn't do a lot of prep work. I'm leaving that up to you. Because this is not my wheelhouse at all tonight, but that's good.
And it was actually not my idea this time.
Lakes and waterways. Yep. What?
But this is a topic for me.
Yeah, that's a good one. Do lakes become marshes? I think, right? Lakes can become marshes, correct?
Well, yeah, if they have not enough water to cover the really shallow lakes, have a tendency to become marshes if they lose water. But most marshes are part of river system, but so are lakes too. So in a way, but a lot of marshes are temporary. They are seasonal, so to speak. They come after snow melt or in fall, winter, depending on climate. And some of them are all year round in some areas, but those are especially around rivers. River systems have big ones, so to speak, in the real world.
Hello, Patrick. Oh, I made a mistake here. I gotta get something. I didn't bring up my Streamlabs on my machine. That's dumb. Duh. I think everything's all set up.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Hope everyone's doing well out there tonight. I saw Anna. I saw Alyssa was put something up about a waterway or whatever. You said that's where all the bad things are or something.
Yeah, well, it was kind of tied into today, but it was a sad, depending on how you look at it, sad picture of blown up Russian tanks trying to cross the river.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh, yeah, I didn't look at it.
The whole forest full of blown up tanks and armored vehicles, and then that were trying to cross the river, and the Ukrainians have blown up the bridge, and that would pile up some of Russian tanks lying like dead crocodiles. Or like,
I wonder.
Yeah, so that's why I said that.
Oh, okay. I wasn't looking. I didn't look at it that close.
Yeah.
Aha! Got me there. Crank it up tonight, everyone.
I prepped a little bit for today, so I have.
Oh, good.
I have some questions, and you have a quiz show, so we're gonna start out with a quiz today.
Ah!
Can figure
Yes, I
there's
have,
a
I
couple
think,
of
16 of my questions done for Lord Kazumba's D&D
Oh, cool. Yeah, so this will be your
Trivia
warm-up,
Challenge
because
Sunday
this will be a
night.
couple of geographical questions that ties into this, and see who studied the map. These maps, so to speak, because
That's
there's
awesome.
a couple of less obvious ones that can be kind of interesting, that I need to be telling you a little bit. Because this topic also ties into the development of Greyhawk as a setting and mapping
wow.
it to some degree too, that I think is interesting.
Keith. We almost got a hype train already.
Wow.
Thanks, Keith. Appreciate that. Got a couple minutes here. Yes, you gotta love that. There are some new standard emotes in the chat that I set up. A couple. Oh, wow. Oh my gosh, guys. Troy hitting up with 5.
Oh.
Cal Steph hitting up with a gift. Troy hitting with 5. Cranking it out. Thank you. Double the giveaway tonight. That was very kind of all of you. Thank you. So I will here. So we get to see all the there. We get some of them. There, we'll get some of those, and I can redo the other ones. We'll come live early just so we can see all the great stuff while we're just sitting there. Oh, maybe not. There it goes. How's everyone doing tonight? Let me go back and get some of the other ones here. Get that. Pop them all in. That should be everything. How's everyone doing? We're early.
Yeah.
Thank you for that hype train. It's a level 3 already, so very kind of you. You don't need to see
It's
that.
like 100 degrees here.
I can tell your head is like reflecting off.
Oh wow, we have a cold spell here today. It's only like 69, 70.
So you're not. What are you not doing? You're not. The air's not being put on because it's too early in the year. Or what are you just not doing it there?
We had a local high, the biggest high since like early 1900s.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, it's nice here in South Jersey too. I got, it's not too bad here. So
it's perfect here.
It's perfect. All right, so let's start with good news. And I've told, and we must not hide this anymore. Some people know. So as we get more and more people coming on, but we'll talk about it at the end too. So we actually, Troller Games actually got in communication contact with WotC, right, with Wizards of the Coast, and we got a way of working it out. So with WotC, I won't go into any details, but we'll be able to bring out a supplemental publication to place everything we do for our Free City of Altamira box set with Troller Games in Greyhawk. There you go. So it's like shocking. It's like shocking that they yes. So yeah.
It'll be like the Greyhawk supplement or
yes. We can't put it in the original in the base, but we'll have an entire separate supplement which will be available. So yep. So and there was their suggestion on how to do it, which made it even better. So huge, isn't it?
Wow.
Yes. Yep. Yes, the direct. Yep. So thank you. That will be coming. Down the road. Our goal is to really start promoting this over the summer and then get the Kickstarter going sometime fall or late fall, something like that. So box set, yes, box set. See that Free City of Greyhawk box set that's just scrolling? I want the Free City of Altamira will be its own box set. Yes, box set. Absolutely, with all sorts of great goodies. Yes. Oh yeah, it's coming, man. It's coming. Go big or go home. Right, Anna?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I want to do this once in my life. I want it to be right. And I want it to be used. And I want it to be fun. And I want it to be good. So, yeah. So that's what we're doing. So, I'll talk about that more later on. But rivers, lakes and waterways tonight. Oh my God, yeah. Print versions. Oh my God, there's going to be all sorts of Anna maps all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I'm working on them already.
Yes. In fact, I have the couple we showed on the fantasy mapping show, which shows, I think maybe tonight we should show how you would expand waterways. I think that's going to be kind of important to the discussion, because we showed them on the fantasy mapping show. You got here's the Jewel River, but here's an expanded water table that's you can't see on the Darlene map, or even on maybe you haven't overdeveloped your map with waterways. So when you get to that point,
it depends on the scale, so to speak, the resolution of the map. So the more detail you go, the more. It's like the coastline. The coastline is infinitely long. It just has more bends and twists the closer you look at it. And the same thing with the river system. It's like the blood vessels of the world. So the closer you look, the smaller ones you find, from the tiny little creeks to whatever, so to speak. So the closer you look at it, the more little waterways you will find.
Thank you all for the support on that hype train too. So tonight, just let's talk about. It's not even 8 o'clock yet, so it's like we're early, and Blue Box wasn't on. So if you already have this, we can substitute, but we'll do one. The Greyhawk Adventure begins, which I have plenty of.
It's a great supplement.
And then I got some really great Necromancer game ones. We got Durgam's Folly by Mike Merles. We got Moric Mansion. We got Chaos Rising, which are bringing out Chaos Rising 2 soon, and we got a Lamentation of Thieves. So you get your choice of one of those as well. All right, so I will set that up, and we'll get that rolling for this evening. So why this topic tonight, Mike?
Yeah, you came up with it. It's not my idea. So
it wasn't on the list.
We haven't done it yet, right?
Great.
So that's the thought process behind it. It just wasn't done yet. Okay. Well, I think this will be good tonight, because it will go into what we're working on, and what we're working on with other things. With the Altamira set and some others. There we go. So that should be coming up now. There we go. And note that we're pretty excited about all the things that are going on. But we got a lot of wonderful content coming up next 2 months, and then as we roll in through the summer, in through Greyhawk, all the way to Greyhawk Con, Virtual Greyhawk Con 3 in October. So there's a lot of great things going on. So that was the reason, Mike, Lakes and Waterways. So my main reference for that is the original World of Greyhawk Gazetteer book, right? Because they're all under Bodies of Water Major. A lot of the lakes are in there. I really don't like how they put large things interdispersed and proper name throughout the whole thing. So sometimes you got to find it.
Yep.
I'm like, let's just put them all together.
Yeah.
But so Anna said you said, what is the river that Nulb lays on? That's the Jewel, isn't it? Here. All right. First question of the night. Let's go there. I got the map.
that Nulb? No.
No?
Nope.
Whoops. Wrong button. Hit the wrong button. Woo! Did it already.
First wrong button.
Wrong button.
It's the one that actually flows north.
Oh, all right. Here we go.
Yep. It's the Emirates Run.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Emirates Run, right?
Yep.
Yeah, there it is.
Yep.
It's this one here. It's the Emirate Meadow, Emirates Run. So
yeah,
it runs this way, and then it runs north. No, it runs this way.
No, it runs. No, it runs
that
north
way.
From that
way.
Yes,
okay.
That
and it
way
runs
north up into the Velver River.
Thank you all for hitting that. Yes. So I did not know that, and it runs into the Nerdiv.
Yeah, and there is a little idiosyncrasy that is still on the map, because we haven't fully resolved it yet. Because there's part of it called Imrids, and one is called Emrides Run, because there's both spellings in, and I thought they were two different rivers, but people said no, it's probably just misspellings. So that's why I wanted to make a kind of compromise by making that little tributary that is next to where the battle was.
Emrides Meadows.
Call it Emridi, and the other one is Imridi, but I'm not sure if that should stand or not. But that's how that came to be. It's because there's two spellings in the book, so in the sources. So I tried to use the two misspellings into an advantage. I'm not really sure if that should actually be there on the map, but in some ways I understand that it's based on a misconception or a spelling error, or editing error or something. But on the other hand, it's kind of cool. So I don't know. Yeah. So we'll see. But that's why there's two Emrides, so to speak, spelled differently.
Did not know that.
Yep.
The Fens of Tor running here was that always there, or did you
No,
add?
the Fens of Tor are described, I think it's to the return. It's one of these, when they dug deeper into it, it's mentioned that the Fens of Tor is there. And it also makes sense because Nulb has this kind of marshland and kind of
Coatless.
that talk about people that go river pirates kind of people and stuff. That's why they end up in Nulb, because that's the furthest end you can go with a small boat away from civilization on the river system, which makes a lot of sense for Nulb to be placed there, so to speak. If you want to hide out and still have access to and hide away your stash that you steal somewhere or something, Nulb geographically makes sense very much due to the water system. So the waterways, because it's a lot easier to smuggle things on especially heavy things on a ship, so to speak, on a boat, or even a canoe or a rowboat or something, or a little small barge or something like that. So in that sense, it makes sense.
So that's
but
disappointing. It's in TE. It's returned to TEE. It's not in any of the Battle of Emerald Meadows or anything like that.
I'm not sure exactly where it comes, but it's taken from the various sources, so to speak.
Okay.
So it's something that shows up, and it also makes sense to have it there because it makes sense that the battles of Emerald Meadows took place in a more tactical point, because
Okay.
you had a marshland that was one of the defining borders, so to speak. So that also makes sense that it took place somewhere northwest of Nulb there, and south of Penwick and north of the Moat House and stuff on the meadows there, so to speak. It's a flat area, but it also makes sense because the river there makes the border towards the forest and stuff. So I think it also makes sense to have the battle there. You can pitch the enemy against the marshland, so to speak.
I gotta ask this question, Mike. What does Gary mean by coltless?
Coltless.
What's that?
As in I don't have any
That don't have,
colts.
they don't have
slag
any
on me.
leaders. They need.
Oh, I was like the Colts didn't move again.
No,
I was like,
I
what?
don't
Oh
have
my
any
god.
colts on me.
Oh, any Colts paraphernalia on. I was like, oh my god. The second time the Airsays moved
I'm
them,
not
I was like,
coltless.
oh my gosh. I was like, what the heck? Because I didn't heard anything. That's cool. So that was a good one there to talk about that. So it's Emeritus and Emerides is both. So up here it's spelled, as you can see here.
Yeah,
it's spelled.
So
here
because both exists in
this is a run though. This is like a little tributary.
Exactly, it's a creek basically,
That's
or like
smart.
a tiny river. So yeah, it's a tributary.
Yeah. So that works real well that you have it like that. Very neat with talking about the Emerides area. So there, we started it off with a question the audience asking about which
great.
one runs through Nulb in the module in Temple of Elemental Evil. It runs right through.
Yep.
So yeah.
I have a little quiz here for a couple
quiz.
Of questions.
Here comes. This is pre-quiz to Sunday night.
Exactly. I was going to say we need to ramp up for Jay's big quiz show here on Sunday. So what is the fourth biggest lake? We know about the big three lakes in the Flannis. What is the fourth biggest lake? It's actually a named lake from some published source, but it's a lot of people, they kind of the three big lakes.
Lake of Unknown Depths.
Obvious.
No, the underground lake. The underground lake in the Underdark. I don't know.
Nope.
Well,
that might be,
idea.
but it's I'm talking about surface lakes that you can that have been mapped, so to speak.
There are not a lot on here, are there?
No, there are a lot of lakes on, but there's a huge difference. The big three, and then there's nothing, and then comes a couple of fourth ones that are, so to speak, or one that is and it's hard to find.
Casey said Lake of Cal.
Close. Gary, you're close. That one is the contender, but I think that one is number 5.
I don't have any idea.
Yeah. Lake Akal is in the Western Fell Reefs, and I think that's the 5th one. But there is one other lake that is slightly bigger than Lake.
Oh, you mean that lake right there is the 5th? Oh my gosh.
That's the 5th biggest. There's one that is slightly bigger than that. Spenlow? Nope, not Spenlow.
I'm just laughing because I think I know it. No one's said anything yet.
Yeah. Mhm.
And,
I have
yeah, Gary's
no-
just rattling them off now.
Is it down?
Yeah,
Is it down
Gary-
Monaland or something?
Well, I haven't counted. I say the
Oh,
Flannis. I
oh,
haven't
so not
counted
this one
Monaland
here.
because I wanted, yeah, because
yeah.
they are big. But I want to talk about them a little bit specials. Let's go with the ones on the original Darlene map. So to
Okay.
speak. And hang on a second. I need to see if it's on the Darlene map or not.
Well,
I
there's
think
one
it
down here.
is.
There's one down here south of Sasserine. There's a couple.
Yeah, that one is too far south
Okay.
to have actually been in, and it's not technically in.
So,
Yeah. Hang on a second.
Casey,
Now
we
I
need to talk because the next 2 Wednesdays
Yep.
I got to change the Legends and Lore to Monday because I have son stuff for his junior high for next year. They're both Wednesday nights.
It is on the Darlene map. Mhm.
You got me.
Yeah, but it doesn't have a name on the Darlene map.
Really?
But actually on the Darlene map, it is slightly small. Then it's only the 5th biggest. I must admit that. But when it was detailed afterwards,
confusing
it's
So it's
grew a little
not
bit. So
in the Emilio. It's
it's up in the mountains. It's a mountainous lake,
yeah.
which makes it
Lake
even weirder. Yeah.
Banfi. I
There you
don't.
go. Jacko's got it.
Where is it?
Exactly, Jacko. Lake Abenfield. Yes, Western Griffs. Yep. Mhm.
Western Griffs.
Yep. On my map, and
Oh, there it
you
is,
read
this
about
one.
it in the Living Greyhawk. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And definitely when it comes, it's a little bit like the Lake Baikal of Greyhawk. It's a deep lake in the mountains there.
It almost looks
Very
like
deep lake.
Loch Ness.
Yeah, it's a very deep lake up in the mountains there. And there was an adventure set there that was called the Shrouded Shores of Lake Abenfield in the Living Greyhawk era that was set up there. And it has some detailed islands, and it actually has some more. I only briefly read, and now I realize there were stuff I forgot. So I need to update that area, and so it matches the adventure even better, because there are some there were mists and various things.
Jacko says there's an ancient elven city hidden on the northern banks. That's cool.
Yeah, exactly. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. I read through the adventure today.
Which adventure?
The CUR 615. It's the Shrouded Shores of Lake Abenfield from it's a core adventure from season 6, I think.
Of what?
Living Greyhawk.
What region?
No, it's core. I
Oh,
think.
it's
So,
core.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, there's 10 nearby. So
Which means theoretically you could have had it.
Yeah.
okay. Wow.
So that one, but I would definitely have Lake Akal as a tie-in. So they are very, very, very close. So yeah. So
Okay.
I wouldn't go into a contest. So
Very interesting.
if you look at the Darlene map, Lake Akal is the biggest. But if all the subsequent maps afterwards, the Lake Abenfield grew and Lake Akal diminished, and then I came and based it on a lot of the other maps, so to speak. So it's kind of
So what else do you know about it? I mean, from that adventure.
It's
we're here.
Not that, it's one of these mountainous lakes high up in the mountains, probably very deep, and full of some ancient elven mystery. There are mists that cover and magical island and some other stuff up there, and there are elves involved and a whole bunch of stuff. I only read the background, and it's old Flan stuff. It's old 10 stuff and so on. So
Okay.
I think it's an area ripe for development, for campaigns consisting of old stuff. And you have Tostinka not far away. So meaning this is an area full of old Flan, elven references, lots of old cool stuff that could be almost forgotten up there, so to speak. So
And the Zumker River looks like
and
it flows
it's-
into it or from it?
From it, yeah.
From it, okay.
It starts up in the mountains, up in the lake. The
Oh.
lake is high up, so to speak, and then
Okay.
it flows down and into the eventually into the Arton Samai. Yeah.
So this area, you could say, is kind of really remote and probably not war-stricken, and probably a great place for things that don't get disturbed for a long time.
Well,
Right.
it was interesting. It seems to have been war-struck twice in history. Once during Vecna's empire,
Really?
when he was up there tearing up things, and Tostenka was abandoned or run over, and that was back 2,000 years ago or something. There seems to be turmoil up there. And then when Ayus came in and screwed things up and destroyed 10 and during the Greyhawk Wars. But in between there, I don't think we have much history on the place at all. But we have now old fragments of what happened during Vecna's reign, of the his empire, when he ruined things up there and stuff like that, and wars against elves and stuff like that, long time ago, 1800, 2,000 years ago or something. And then during the Bandi Kingdom was overrun by Ayus and stuff, and the fall of 10. Yeah.
Wow. So that's a good start there. One I never even knew it was named.
More
Yep.
info.
Yep.
The main completely missed that nearby Lake Abenfield is Geralt Engdahl, the huge city of orcs.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a target-rich environment. You have lots of cool stuff there, so to speak, both from history and current and
there's a lot going on there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And the
source I read said that there's an island in the middle.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And I need to redraw the islands. I drew a couple of islands, but I forgot to look again at the map because I probably read it and then I mapped it 3-4 years afterwards. I forgot to go back. So it's on my to-do list to redraw it. Cool. So it actually
What's on the island?
On the island, it's some ancient. I'm not good to spoil. I haven't read. I only read the pretext to the adventure and looked at the maps. To be honest,
so crazy doctor crossbreeding things. Oh,
yeah. There's some stuff going on there. Some old elven stuff, some old Flannis stuff, some, and there's a base for an adventure up there. So I need to read all that carefully, look at the maps again, and redo the areas.
Jacko, you should share your some information on your hidden or ancient elven location up there on the Cannon Fire Discord. The Shrouded Shores of Abenfield. That's what I would do.
Yep.
So hold on one second here. Let me shout out that. By the way, we have changed the name of the Virtual GrutCon Discord to Greyhawk Events. All right, so just so you're aware about that.
Yep.
Okay.
So that was my first kind of question, and we got a bit of a discussion in there, so to speak. And now comes the next question.
Yes.
What is the longest river system in the Flannis? And now I'm not talking about a single river. I'm talking from source to we go out in the ocean, so to speak. The longest river system.
It's got to be this one running through Ernst. It's got to be this one here.
That's part of it. Yes.
Okay.
That's part of it. So Nesser is part of it.
Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's actually part of both the longest and the second longest. So Nesser is a key river.
Yeah, because I think I remember you saying something about this because it runs.
Yep.
Yeah, and it runs and it connects into here and runs just so.
But it's so far and wide. Yeah.
Says it starts in the Vale of the Mage.
Really?
That is, then you're getting close, but not when it comes to the longest system. But now you're coming to you answered the question, my next question. So the longest it's much longer than you think. It's really, really long. It has several of the longest rivers involved.
It continues all the way up here, doesn't it? It continues through the Fell Reeve.
You even further.
Up here comes all the way.
Nope.
No.
Nope.
All right.
Okay, go up to the land of black ice.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
And go to the middle of it. There is a river that drains south into the Fleer River. Exactly.
Okay. All right.
The sources of the Fleer River ends up in the Nesser, and so it goes through the Fleer River.
Right.
And that's south into Lake Quag.
Yeah.
And then through Lake Quag, and then along the whole of the Velverdiva.
Yeah.
And that's one of the longest rivers in the Flannis.
Right, I got it. Velverdiva.
Yeah, and then it flows across the Nurdiv. Once you get into,
so it's down here.
Yeah, and then
comes up. And it comes up here. Okay.
Yeah, and then out into the Nurdiv, and then across the Nurdiv, and then either through the Salintan. But I have a little bit because it's actually most of the water probably flows east and out through the Nesser, and then into the Sea of or Relmord Bay or Nesser mouth. So all the way down. That I
So-
think is the longest river
Yeah.
system in the
So the
the
Flannis is
Flannis.
bisected.
yeah, exactly. That you have a western and an eastern. It's
Wow.
like the Mississippi in the U.S., so to speak. There is a
but there aren't
western side.
there aren't two major lakes part of the Mississippi system.
Yeah. So
That's pretty
here,
neat.
yeah. So here we have the two of the biggest three lakes are involved in the same river system too. That's the longest there is, and the second longest is if you go up the Wystill and go up into the land of Ayus, the western side. There you have the Dole Sea up there. That I
Dole Sea.
think is the second longest. So you have the Dole Sea. So the second longest starts in Blackmore and up in Blackmore, and then it flows south into Lake Wystill.
This is one of the ones that flows north, one of the rare ones that goes
No,
north.
it flows. It
flows
comes
south.
from Blackmore and
Oh,
flows south
okay.
into the Wystill, and then from Wystill across the Ving, and then
The
into
Ving.
Neerdiv, and then out the Nesser.
Ving.
That I think
Okay.
is the second
Wow.
second longest, so to speak, and then becomes really tricky to figure out which is the third. But which is the longest single river that doesn't flow through a major lake or
It doesn't
something like that?
flow through a lake at all.
Yes, that is like the
gotta
longest
be
river.
over here
And now
somewhere.
I think we have someone, I forgot his name, actually
Okay.
answered that one before. So was that Mr. Joel, I think?
Mr.
Yeah,
Jolink.
yeah, I think so.
Mr.
Hang on a
Jolink,
second.
yeah, he said it.
Cafe.
Yeah, and that I think is the Yaban River. That is the longest single river.
Where's that?
And
Where's that again?
it's
I
in the
don't know.
Sheldamar Valley. It
Oh,
starts up in the
shit.
Vale of the Mage and then go all the way.
Ah.
Yeah, and it flows on the western side of the Sheldamar the whole way.
Okay, here it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that way down. And
Well, there are
and-
lakes. They're just small ones.
Why isn't
Oh,
it
yes.
called the Yavin Valve?
Yeah, it should,
Javan.
that way it should be, yes.
Yeah.
And then you continue. And one of the main reasons that is so long is that it takes through Yeomanry and it have a big bend down and around until it gets out into
Yeah. Okay, so the Oit
to
is
the
the
Azure
Oit
Sea.
and the
Yeah.
winding stream
Yeah, that's one of the tributaries down there. So,
and meets into the Javan. It goes to the Rushmores
yeah, and then south.
and then south here, right?
Yep. Yep, and it continues there.
And it goes
And then
through the
it-
whole. It goes through the
Yep,
Good Hills,
mhm. Yep.
Little Hills, Dreadwood,
Yeah, and then
Pool
it makes
Marshes.
a huge bend, and there it reaches the ocean.
Pools.
Yeah. I think that's the longest single river, so to speak, that doesn't change names or any of that, so to speak. That is the
That's what I meant. I think it was mentioned in Sea of Death. Yeah, that makes total sense. So here's my question:
Mhm.
compared to real geography that we know of, especially this multi-lake system river,
Yeah.
does it make geographical sense?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I looked at. If you look at the inner, look at Lake Baikal in central, eastern Central Asia, in southeast Russia, so to speak. It's a lake that is high up, and it's a huge lake. It's not as big as Neerdiv, but it's by number of when it comes to water. It's the biggest lake in the world when it comes to the amount of water in it. It's 6 kilometers deep in the deepest,
wow.
and it has tributaries that are many hundreds of miles long, and it actually runs all the way up through Siberia to the northern coast of Russia, into the runs north for 2,500 miles after it leaves. So there you have an example, and it goes through numerous lakes and stuff. So you have long rivers like the Amur River and others and some of them, they flow bending around in from China and from Russia from various directions into the Lake Baikal, and then from Lake Baikal all the way north.
So
Yeah.
because that lake's so deep, it has more water than the Caspian, which is huge.
Yeah, now Caspian is not a lake. Caspian is actually an ocean that got cut off from the major ocean. It's
Oh.
a salty ocean, yes. And that was, now you're touching to one of the topics that I wanted to dig into
Okay.
here as a speculation, so to speak, because
All
the
right.
difference, Caspian Sea is called sea and not Lake Caspian Lake because it is a salty sea. It was part of the Sea of Tethys like 20 million years ago or so, and then it was simply, it got, due to geological changes and the crust of the earth rising up and mountains rising up, it became isolated. It was a part of the main ocean that got isolated away, and it's still part of, it's the last remnant of the old Tethys Sea, and it has a saltiness and stuff like that, just like an ocean. Yeah.
Okay.
And Lake Baikal is just like the Great Lakes in North America stuff. It's a freshwater lake, so it's different because rivers don't flow from the Caspian Sea. They flow into it, like the Volga and stuff like that. So there is no inflow from the Caspian Sea. The Caspian Sea, it basically at sea level, I think it's more like the evaporation rate and stuff like that. So if it's a little bit higher or a little bit lower, it depends on climate, I think.
It's good to hear. Yes, everyone's saying this is such a fascinating discussion. This is this cuts into, the mix of theoretical real life geography and fantasy geography.
Exactly. You have to kind of, when you create world building and think about it, fantasy setting, you take, in my opinion, you should take inspiration from the real world, and then you should kind of tweak it in interesting, cool ways. But it should be believable from its own premises. Meaning you can make something that works differently, but that needs to be recent, magical, divine intervention, weird elemental physics, whatever. You can make these exceptions, but then they should be counted for in lore and in how the world functions, so to speak, I think.
Well, it's good because I was like, 2 hours. You know how I am. But this is we're gonna hit that easily. So
Yep.
All right. So wow, that was some great questions, Anna. And by the way, if I put those kind of detailed questions on, you think Tim's going to know that stuff, or any of my other guests? No.
No, but it's different. This is the stuff that I think.
Yeah.
But I have
awesome.
one more question, and we kind of answered it already, and that is, what is the biggest river when it comes to the amount of water flowing through it? Should be.
I'm going to say Velverdiver.
That's close, but not. No, it can't be.
All right, so it's probably this one here. It's probably it's a
should be the Nesser.
Oh, Nesser.
Because look at how many rivers that flows into the lake near Div. Meaning you have some of the biggest rivers on the continent, like the Veng, the Velverdiva, and the Artonsamai, all dump their water into the Nirdiv, and that water needs to go somewhere, otherwise the Nirdiv will be flowing over into the ocean, so to speak. So there needs to be a gigantic river flowing out of it. So Nesser is and it looks like on the map and stuff, I get the sense that Nesser is the big natural outlet, but that's something if you want to have the Salintan as the enormous pipe out to, it's
But remember, Aaron's theory on the Salentan is that it's canaled. It's canaled.
Exactly. That the upper part is canaled. But that's my theory. You can have, and here comes the interesting, because, and that's something I think we need to address this thing, that there is actually two rivers flowing out of the same lake. That can happen in nature too. And it does from time to time, like especially when you've had an ice age, for instance, then there's like an enormous amount of water being dumped temporarily into a lake. Then what happens is that the lake starts flowing over, and then first you have like one natural outlet. And then if there's more water coming in that can come out through that outlet, that means that the lake will the water will rise until there is a new place where the water could start flowing over, and it will, so to speak. But that is only temporary, because eventually when you have year on year more stable climates, you don't have the end of an ice age or an enormous torrent or something like that. So that means that you have to, then the natural thing for the, now see, I hope that you haven't lost me here. So there you go. Yeah. So the natural thing is for the lake to settle at a level when it has only one outlet over time, so to speak. So that's why I want to
I wondered about that, because
Well, look at the
given
Great
the
Lakes.
two outlets.
Yeah, the
given
Great
the two
Lakes has the
outlets,
St. Lawrence and
the-
other outlets too, doesn't it?
Uh,
There's
You
no other
only have
outlets off
one.
the Great Lakes. That's it. The St.
Yep.
Lawrence is the only one. I
Mhm.
thought there was
Yep.
one coming off Lake Michigan. No, no.
You
Shows
can have
you-
man-made ones,
Okay.
like canals
Yeah,
and stuff,
Illinois
and
is
Okay.
that's what happened from the
Oh,
Great
neat.
Lakes. Someone dug a canal south, so you can take
Okay.
ships and stuff, but
yeah.
that is not natural, so to speak. You can be temporary, but that will disappear after once the enormous inflow of water is gone and it's down to normal, then it will settle, so to speak. So
Doesn't the Chicago River run backwards? Isn't that the one in downtown Chicago that runs backwards? They flipped it somehow.
exactly, I think they did. I've heard that. I haven't seen
Yeah.
and studied in detail, but I've heard from documentaries about Chicago that they actually did a geo engineering by changing the flow of it.
And
Yeah.
if you watch the Cheyenne Woodley movies, it's drained and not flowing at
Mhm.
all. Just sorry.
Yep.
Those. I'm so
So
sorry.
it's kind of yeah. So I have Nesser is probably the big natural outflow from Nerduf, and it must be gigantic because there's all these big lakes and all these big rivers. That means that it should be somewhere between the Amazon or Mississippi or Volga or one of these
Exactly.
gigantic rivers in the real world, or Yangtze or some, or the Nile or something. It's in that class of rivers that drains huge areas, big enough that you can basically sail, I think, little ocean going sail vessel like the Santa Maria or something like that, the Columbus crossed the Atlantic. I wouldn't be surprised if you could sail that up the Nesser if you have enough good winds and stuff like that. You can, it's like a mile wide or something like that in most places.
So I
Maybe
think
even wider.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think now would be, with this river discussion into lakes, I think this would be a good time, Anna, if we go over, highlight like 3 or 4 of the slides you did for,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Fancy Map, and explain
Yeah.
river theory, and as you
Mhm.
blow up the map more. So I'm going to
Yep.
start with slide.
Yeah.
Well, here, this is slide 3 from as we're.
Yeah,
Whoops,
this is
how did that
yeah.
happen? Hold on. Let me see. Wow, things are going crazy here. Hold on.
Yep.
My Zoom's going nuts. I killed this. I killed everything. Give me a
Uh-oh.
second here. Give me a second.
Yep.
Somehow my Zoom went haywire, but it's still on. One sec. That was strange. I'm trying to get you guys back up.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
That's right.
Yeah, because I had a couple of minutes ago, I had kind of a wobbly.
Yeah, no, that was, yeah, there we go. All right, switch to that.
There we go. Yep.
See, everyone, streaming's not all the, Mike has
Uh-oh.
been kidnapped. We're good. I got to reopen this and reopen this. I don't know. That was weird. Okay, now we got it.
Yep.
All right, so start from slide 3. This is your area. This is the area of,
Mhm.
right in this area is mostly
yeah.
the Altamira area that we're talking about, and what happens when you blow this area up. So
Yeah, this is from what it looks like on the terrain on my current Flannis map, so to speak. And you have the jewel, and then you have the handmaiden. They're joining just in the northern part. That's the Y, so to speak, that the handmaiden and the jewel river, and then they flow together and form the jewel. And then you have some marshy wetlands lakes in the sus there. Yep.
yeah, 'cause you got Carwood down here.
Exactly.
And,
yeah.
So and some of the areas
yeah,
published.
and
So yep.
Yep. And that is what the resolution with about a mile per pixel, in roughly. And now when I need to blow it up and make it much more detailed. So first I made a simple colored height map, just a sketch of the drainage map, so to speak. And here are the rivers and the drainage from the current map, so to speak. And I put I elevation colored it, so it should be kind of easy to understand where the different rivers and different areas need to be high and low, so I can use that as a base for my 3D mapping. And then this is when you start realizing there needs to be more detailed rivers, because the ones existing here are just the biggest ones. And there is small, tiny rivers before you get into the creeks and stuff. So go to the next one also.
Sure.
Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
Wow. Yeah.
Yes, it's cranking tonight, everyone, and thank you for the support as we're this one. Yes, there
Exactly. And here I've simply inferred where that the now we're getting into the blood vessels, so to speak. So these are like large creeks to small, tiny rivers and stuff. Things that are the size where you can take a rowboat or a canoe up, so to speak, but not big. So the size that are small enough that you can sail on them, but you can probably go canoe or rowboat and stuff like that. And that is what I will start when I do it. But when I move into 5 feet per pixel and have rivers that are and creeks that are like 5 feet, now we're talking do this 3 or 4 times over, so to speak, to even more detailed. So that's how the river system works. The closer you look, the more rivers and creeks you will find. So on a world map, you only see the really big rivers, and when you go closer, you see smaller rivers, and then smaller rivers, and then smaller rivers, and so on, almost in infinitum, so to speak.
Yes, kumquat juice. Yes. Okay,
Yeah.
So what this shows, though, is that there may be a waterway closer than we actually thought when I didn't put it on a waterway. So we're gonna do some of this on. And then from that.
And here's where I put vegetation in, where you have forests, and then I make another one for civilization too, where we can infer where people actually live, so to speak. Those are the areas where you can find fields and stuff like that. We talked about this on the fantasy mapping show, so I'm reiterating the same thing, but it's kind of ties into the discussion here. So.
Yeah, it does. Considering this one, especially noting that there's no reason why you can't take an area that you're adventuring in and extrapolate out the streams and creeks.
Yep. You just have to realize that the more local you get, the smaller the rivers become, so to speak. So the smaller rivers flow into the bigger rivers, that flows into the even bigger river, and then eventually that big river will hit the ocean, or it will hit an inland ocean, or it will occasionally hit a lake that doesn't drain into the ocean. And there are some weird rivers. The most notable one in the real world is the River Jordan in Israel, that flows from one lake and then downhill into what the Dead Sea, that is a salt lake, that is basically a big lake that is evaporating away with it doesn't reach the ocean or anything. And there's also in Africa, there's a famous river called the Ocavango in southern Africa that starts up in hills and in the rainforest tropical area, flows south in Africa into a desert where it evaporates. And it's more of a seasonal river. So parts of the year, it's just dry sand and nothing. And then parts of the year where the rainy season starts, in the northern parts where the river originates, then there's an enormous amount of water flowing down, and it forms a huge lake and marshland and delta in the middle of a desert. And it's amazing because every year that BBC made a wonderful documentary, and this is kind of interesting because in a fantasy world, you can tie interesting things. It can happen maybe once a year. It happened maybe once a century. It might be when a god got in a certain mood, then he dumps a lot of water, and all of a sudden you have a marshland in the middle of a desert. So there are interesting exceptions even in the real world, and you can, in a fantasy world, you can make even more interesting exceptions if you want to.
Like, for example, and I know you don't live far from this, but in the 1900s, the Colorado overflowed and formed the Salton Sea.
Yep.
Which has just been evaporating and evaporating. It's almost down to nothing now, right?
Yep.
So,
and it's also interesting. I think it was also they were trying to dam things for irrigation, and then one of the dams kind of bursted, and the water flew the other way into a valley that was kind of perpendicular to the main flow of and that's created the Salton Sea. So it was kind of backflow that was kind of an irrigation scandal in a bit and created it. And the thing is that since the climate is hot and arid, that means that it's just evaporating away, and water contains a lot of salt, even river water and stuff. And what happens is that if you just evaporate away, you will get the start of a salt lake. That's how the salt lakes of Salt Lake, famous of Salt Lake City, Lake Bonneville, and a whole bunch of others. And in Greyhawk, we have a good example of a salt lake. So let's step, and we need to go to the dry steppes in the west. We have Lake Udrukankar, or whatever it's called, that Tuva Baragu fame. There you have a lake that is talked about many times over, that is still there, but it was probably way bigger back in the day, and then it's partially dried out salt lake. So that is like what will Salton Sea will probably be in a few hundred years if there's no irrigation or something like that. It will be just a salt flats or sandy flats mostly, I think, but with salty sand. And so that happens all over the world when you have climate change, when you have the source of a lake's water disappears, and it will slowly evaporate in warmer, hotter climates.
So this lake has been there after the Evoke devastation for a long time.
Yeah, it was probably much bigger before the Invoke devastation when the climate was different. It was probably a huge lake, and it also comes with a river system that we normally don't see. But I've actually worked out that the river system goes west, and on the latest iteration of the map, you can see a kind of a traces of it leading all the way to the western
traces of
edge.
Green too, slightly
now
green.
that's coming, that's the inflow. You're seeing there. You have to go north to see the north, and there you have it, and go west from the lake. Yeah, there you go. Follow that road and towards the west. Yeah, and there's some. I painted in some other salt lakes on the way there, so to speak.
I see. Okay.
Yep, and that is one of the rivers that has there's no support for it in sources. I just try to infer what the geography tells us, so to speak. That will be the logical place for the river to be.
That.
Yeah. So there is I made it a little bit more obvious on the latest version of the map. It's a little bit version. If you use your version is not up to 2022 standards yet, but we will get there.
And that would have been the heart of the Backlunish Empire.
Exactly. And I simply assume, exactly. And when they had an empire, I assumed that they had access to water and stuff, that the lake was much bigger. And I want to make it, exactly. That's another dry out one. So I wanted to have that area much more fertile and wet back in history, so to speak. And there's another river that is hinted at, but not really drawn much. And now you go, there you have another one that is mentioned in that adventure. Go up in Zeif or Zeef, and there is one that is the river. Hang on a second, I need to find the name here. It's disappeared. Hang on a second.
Jim, I never noticed that the salt flats. Never noticed it. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we're looking
the
for
Quag. I don't think it's named, and that's one of the things that
this one
also
here.
Hinted.
This one under
no. Go west, northwest.
As far as I can go.
Go up till you find the Dabia city up there in the north. There you go, east of the Vad Highlands. Yeah, there you almost zoom in, and east of the Highlands. East of the Highlands.
East of the Highlands.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, this.
Yeah, there is the estuary of another river, because they talk about wadis and there's a system of lakes and dried out lakes and stuff. So I simply assume that these lands also need to drain somehow if there will be enough water.
Right.
And back in history there probably were, because when the climate was better, and this was part of the Backlunish Empire, so there was a river. I haven't named it yet. We haven't named the one going west there either. So there's up for ancient Backluni development here, so to speak. But there's a river going all the way from the south, and it drains into it. And part of the river it's still there. I painted it out because my guess is that this is one of these seasonal rivers that occasionally, once a year or so, there's enough rainfall in certain areas that it will start, like in winter and early spring, there's probably a bit of water flowing the whole way. And then in summer, when the heat comes, it dissipates and it's only there for a few months.
Wadi Kijar, the pass or the valley?
Yeah.
That's a pass. Okay.
Yeah. So the wadi is a valley or like a valley or river valley in
okay,
Arabic.
It's a river valley. Okay, I got it.
Yep.
Okay. So very neat out here. And
so those are the kind of things that aren't really described, but they are hinted at in so many different
way out here
sources,
you have
so to speak.
this out
Exactly,
here.
there are lakes and stuff, and these should probably be near salt lakes or kind of almost, so to speak. So, and it was one of these areas. There's so little information. We have a little bit from the gourd books and occasional mentions here and there. That's about it.
Yep. Wadi plus dry wash run. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, that explains it. Very cool.
And then we have another river that is not mentioned, and this is in Mike's home turf. And that's also interesting because never got a river.
No.
But if you look at the geography, you have mountains in the east and the west,
it has to,
and they have to drain into the Ull Basin, so to speak. And I assume that you have the escarpment in the south where Kester is high and the other one low. That kind of made me realize that Ull is probably higher in the south than it is in the north, because in the north you have the Tuflik River basin up there, so to speak, and the river, the plains. So that means that there needs to be a river that flows through the Ull basin, so to speak, into the Tuflik. That's what the geography tells us from what scarce sources we have, because we have mountains in the north and the south.
So something has to flow here, and that's what you have.
Exactly. The Ull basin needs to drain somewhere. So it probably doesn't rain much in Ull, but when it does, that water will eventually collect in the middle of it and flow down, so to speak, meaning north.
So this is not like those areas north of Peru or Chile that never get rain.
No, I don't think so. And also, Ull itself might not get much rain, but you have the mountains in the east,
which they have to have precipitation.
Exactly, and also mountains are a natural a barrier for weather, which means that whatever humidity hits the mountains will fall out in form of snow and stuff, and then gradually melt.
It can't all melt to the east.
No, exactly. A lot of it will drain to the west too. So I've gradually, over the iterations of the map, I've added more and more rivers into Ull. So it actually drains. I didn't want to put all of it in at once. So I actually put some of it in. And there are good examples of areas that are fed by mountain water. Southern California is a perfect example. Most of the drinking water we get that we don't feed in, the natural drinking water we get down here is actually meltwater from mountains. That's most of it, because it doesn't rain. Exactly, it doesn't rain much down here, but it snows up in the mountains, and then when that melts, it comes down. Parts of China, they get most of their water in the big rivers are actually melt-offs, and parts of India and Pakistan as well, because the Himalayas gather so much humidity and snowfall up there, so it drains down into and rain up in the mountains. So even if you have a parched desert, below it, mountains, they catch water, so to speak. So I simply assume that will probably be the case in a fantasy world too.
Makes sense. Total sense.
Yep.
I still think you should. Yeah,
and Eric, you're right that the Ull is in the rain shadow from the crystal mist, but some water will flow into the valleys west too, but it's only a trickle compared to the east. That's why the Sheldamar Valley is way more humid and has way better agriculture and stuff, and also Ull, I think Ull is much higher up, which means that it's probably more like Afghanistan than something else in climate, so to speak. It's high, meaning you have short, hot, arid summers and cold, bitter winters, and the little bit of spring and fall, but with the little bit of rainfall. So it's like a hot steppe or a cold steppe, rather, so to speak.
I thought of all as Mongolia. As far as
that's another similar area where you have Mongolia, maybe,
because that's high altitude too, isn't it?
Mongolia is not that high, but you have Tibet is really high up. Tibet is that, but Tibet is very high up. I think Tibet is too high up. Mongolia but Mongolia has the inland climate, meaning they're thousands of miles away from the ocean, so very dry.
Well, that's maybe Ull's got okay, that's interesting.
Yeah,
interesting that
that was a river that I added.
Mike should name it
because it needs. Yeah, exactly. Mike, you should name the river and
You should name the river here.
yeah. Yeah.
The Dalsum River.
Yeah, or something. The
No.
Dulcim
No.
River.
There won't be no river if he gets had his way.
No,
Yeah,
that's true. Yep.
that'd be
It's
good.
not a big river, but it's an important river because it should be there, so to speak. It naturally should be a river there. But maybe the Olites never bothered to name it. So yeah. Well, the Great Kingdom cartographers never reached it or something. So it was there.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
So
and then we have sorry.
go ahead, no, Anna. You're on a roll. Go for it. You're on.
Yeah, I was going to say. Then we have the obvious. I just need to mention it again for all the world builders out there. Rivers can flow north as well. They don't all flow south or down on the paper. They can flow north as well as south. And Greyhawk suffers from the same thing that I think I need to do a scientific study on all the fantasy setting maps, because I'm pretty sure that very few of them have north flowing rivers. And Tuflik River is the only main river that flows north.
Yeah, this is it, right? Flows into the
yeah. That's the only one. And then almost because the whole coastline east of Tuflik has no natural outlet rivers whatsoever, none. And we're talking thousands of miles of coastline has none. And take from Blackmore and it flows south all the way down. It's cool, but there should be rivers that drains north as well. So I've added a few here and there, but those are.
Well, how many rivers go north into Russia?
Oh, there's plenty of them. Russia has most of their rivers flow north.
How about into the Hudson Bay?
The Lena, Hudson Bay, there's plenty. The Lawrence River is a typical example. It flows north. Okay, it's like the Tuflik of North America. So yeah, it flows northeast. And then there's a bunch of, but there's a bunch of, but it depends on in North America, they more flow south than north, but in Asia, in Russia, for instance, they flow north way more than they flow south.
Okay.
But there is
have something to do with equators and poles?
I think it's just the size of the landmass.
Well, it's part of its rivers flow downhill, basically. It doesn't, I don't think the Earth rotation is big enough. It's downhill. But there is another interesting thing that happens with the rivers that flow towards colder latitudes rather than warmer. And that is that in the winter, they thaw from the source, not from the end, which means that like in Canada and Siberia, the rivers that do flow north, something weird happens is that they melt at the source, which means that there's a lot of meltwater coming down with broken ice that piles up and forms these dams and then burst again, so to speak. So you get the interesting thing, you get these enormous flood marshes that forms when rivers flow into colder areas, so to speak, and that don't thaw until much later. You get enormous swamplands and you get like huge piles up. In Canada, they have special machinery to break them up, and that could be an interesting adventure. Location you need to go to is inaccessible certain times of the year because everything turns into a marshland and you get like or you might want to save a river or a settlement in order to or save it. You need to dispense the ice and stuff like that. Or
you need ice road truckers. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you have in Canada, for instance, they have these people that go around and break up the ice before it can pile up enough to cause real problems and stuff.
So does that explain the cold marshes at all, or?
To some degree, it can, because there's two reasons I think that you have a lot of marshes up in the cold temperate. One is that there is a lot of rain going on there because the temperatures are in the atmosphere means that things condensate a lot, so to speak, and you have very little evaporation. So whatever falls there stays there a long time. It doesn't evaporate away because there's half of the year there is no evaporation. It just freezes over, and then it starts thawing again and very little evaporation. So that means that everything gets soggy and water filled. In warmer places, it just evaporates away and problem solved. Yeah.
Interesting. So that was pretty neat on the rivers and which let's talk about the three major lakes, since this is lakes
Yep.
and waterways. Save the
Yep.
near deep for last. So
Yep.
let's start with let's start with this one here. Let's start with the White Sill, which
Yeah,
is kind of
that's the
interesting.
kind of the odd
Yeah.
one out
Yeah.
from the and the one that we know the least of. And
Yes.
yeah, and when we look at
Really?
the geography of this lake, it seems to be one of these lakes that it's a flatland lake, so to speak. It's not like Lake Baikal or something. It doesn't have any mountains surrounding it. It's just a slight denture in the crust, so to speak. So I get the sense that this is a shallow lake. It's like the Victoria Lake in Africa. It's like Lake Michigan in the US and stuff. They're not, compared to their size, they are very shallow. They are not like enormous depth to them or anything like it. They're surrounded, like the Great Lakes in North America. They are comparatively shallow lakes that are all surrounded by flatlands everywhere, so to speak. They're just slight indentations in the crust of the earth. They are not deep, scarce water filled, so to speak, and they don't have enormous depths or anything. They are simply large because their surface area is large, but they are not comparatively deep. So I get the sense that the Y still is probably the most shallow of the three when it comes to that part. But it's also interesting because it's the one that in some sense seems to have the least of civilization around them, at least in developed setting. Even Pearland has more cities and cool places around it. And why still basically only have 3 towns or major settlements?
Well, yeah, because who wants to live there where you're going to get slaughtered?
I was going to say the northern side. There's probably good reason for it, because the northern half of it is under IU's control, and the eastern is, well, IU's Horn Society kind of. So it's bad politics, so to speak. And the southern part, so you have Crockport, Delacquen, and Doraka. But I think that the Furundian coast there should have more settlements and stuff. At least it should have had before the war, because who doesn't want to live next to a lake like that? It's fishing, water, and stuff. So I get the sense that that area is underdeveloped. So it should probably be a little bit more developed.
Well, Mike, didn't you have a big naval battle on this lake where they got slaughtered or something?
No naval battles.
I thought you had something, an assault.
Oh, I did a lot of wars and things.
Okay.
But, I didn't go into any sea battles.
Okay. No. Yeah, but this is so. I mean, if you're looking from the ashes, Crockport, Grabford, all this fell, right? All this area all fell, but but then it was recovered. So
yeah, but there's also a good point there. Meaning sometimes you don't want to live next to, and in the sense, if Iusians got good at doing what the Vikings did and others, they raid across the water, then it makes sense to not live close to the water. So that might be. But on the other hand, Furundi has been there, and Ferron has been there way longer than Ius has been a menace in the world. So to me, it should probably be more settlements.
Comes Mike Disney raiding in with a large raid.
Oh, awesome!
Hey, Mike. Hope you're doing well, Mike. Thank you. I know you're really cranking out the great content as far as painting goes. I'm going to shout out Taryn too, even though I know she's traveling too. We got some giveaways tonight, some classics. Please feel free to sign up for them, everyone. And we're talking lakes and waterways in depth here. So in Greyhawk, it's a really nice in-depth discussion. So we see that there's multiple rivers flowing in, and only the Veng flows out. Is that what that is?
Mm-hmm. Yep, Veng is the outlet, and the other ones are inlets.
So here's my question: this river through the defiled glades, no name?
Exactly, no name. That's my addition. Yeah, that's one of these kind of rivers that is too small to be on the Darlene map. So I added it because I thought there should be a river there. There is and I've also added some bigger rivers too on the latest version of the map. So go up to the northeast part of the it's good. Yeah, exactly, that one. I added that one, and hang on a second. I have named it on my version of the map. So
cool.
Open that, because I named it, and I should probably put that name in the future versions of the map here. So let's zoom in here.
My map hasn't had a major.
Yeah.
Because if
I
we
call it the Immigrants River.
Emirates,
It's yeah, and it forms the northern boundary of the Hornlands, between Hornlands and Ayusian lands. So it's the Immigrants River. So it drains, because it to me looked like it needs to be a river there, so to speak. And then I put another little river there, the one that flows into the Ophik River. Oh, zoom in, Ian, where you were. And there you go, Ophik. Yep, at the Ophik River, there's two flowing into it, and those I've named and put in there too. The I call it the Seder River, that goes into and it flows into the Ophik just north of the Devouring Bridge. Yep.
The Devouring Bridge. What a lovely name.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Wouldn't want to go there for the summer.
Yep. So there's a bunch of, I named several of the other rivers here too, and so I should probably, we'll see if the names, I'll have to present the names, and then we'll see if the Greyhawk community kind of adopts the names and like them. Then we can, yeah, Pelorus forsaken them. Yep. so that
cool.
is, yeah. And then you have the big inflow to Still is the Dull Sea. Yeah, that flows from the northwest there. So yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, not to disagree with Anna's scientific analysis of Still, but
Oh, please.
if you go just by the Darlene map, it's deeper than Lake Quag.
Yeah. And it's
On
nothing,
color
it
bands.
can be, exactly, it can be. So then we have to, and Darlene map was made for, so we, yeah, so we should kind of, then we need to say that, and the Nerdiv is really deep, so then we can have the Still being really deep too. So
I can talk about that.
So Gary asked a question about what caused the desperation of the lands, and I think this is in the theme of Mordor theme, right? Where it just they don't care, and it's deforested, and just
that is part of it. But I can also see that there are climate reasons for the forest to be where it is. I just need to let Minnie down here. There we go.
It's a good question, Gary.
Yeah, it's a great question, and one that I was thinking a lot about when I try to figure out the climate zones. And my guess is that it seems like most of the winds in the Flannis comes from the east. And I think that is in the glossography when they discuss weather and stuff, that is predominant. And it also makes sense from the because you have certain bands of winds in certain areas up north. It flows towards the east, and then a bit further south is the opposite, and so on. It goes in opposite bands in the real world. And we have the eastern side of the mountains of the Klatsbergs and the Yatils and the Barrier Peaks and all these mountains are full of forest on the eastern side and dry on the western side. And that kind of tells us that the climate idea here is that the winds come from the east, which means that the Vespi is formed, is on the slopes of the mountains. That's where they dumps a lot of water and stuff. And what happens is that before then, when you have the flatlands, it's not high enough. So a lot of the weather just flows over it, and when it hits it's like in India and stuff and other parts of the world where you have the flatlands are dry, but when the weather hits the mountains, that's when the water gets dumped to a large degree. And that means that the areas next to the mountains there gets much more water than the flat lowlands do. So that's one reason. And then you have another phenomena that can cause this too, and that's waves in the air. So if you have winds that flows over the mountains, it creates a wave form like this, and it affects the jet streams, especially high mountains. And in the Flannis, you have the interesting bit that up north, you have tall mountains in the east. Further south, you don't have that, but further north, you have, and let's say the winds predominantly blow from the east to the west. That means that a lot of the water gets soaked up in the Ratik when the weather hits land first. A lot of the rain gets dumped in forming the timberway forest and over there, so to speak. And then you get the first push of air flowing over the Rakers and the Griff Mountains. And after that wave push up, you get like a down wave, and that's when the tangles and the fell reefs form from that. And then after that wave, then the wave goes up again and it gets dry, and then it comes down at the Vestvi again. And so the Vestvi might simply be because you get two things. You get the mountain push up and you get the wave, so to speak. So there's a way you can, if you want to neatly, scientifically, so to speak, explain why the forests are where they are, you can actually explain it that way. Because those are both phenomena that happens in the real world.
So Darlene had the lands of E as its normal plains. Why are they gray? Cinematic license? Yes, a little bit.
Oh, yes.
And Darlene wasn't thinking as much into that.
No, and also because in the Darlene map, we only have hills or significant hills, so to speak. We're talking the Appalachians as the smallest ones that are on the map, I think. And on the Darlene map, anything lower than a few thousand feet is not on the Darlene map, I think. So that means that we have some license to put in hills that are significant enough to be hilly, but not high enough to disturb weather and to be.
So if the wind's coming from the east,
predominantly, and
that
then
means that this area here is where hurricanes come in. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so they're hitting the Great Kingdom mostly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say that they will hit further south. So the islands down there.
Here. Almost like it comes through the Caribbean.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So
and you also have warm. That's why I put on my climate map, I put warm water flowing up that way, because that makes sense climate-wise. Because it creates it. So yeah, they will predominantly be there, and also over the Azure Sea to some degree, because the Azure Sea is warm. So because it's an isolated, but so it will come. So both the southern parts of the Flannis could definitely have hurricanes. Yep.
Okay. So, anything else about the White Still? I always found it weird that the Vestvi like butted up almost right to it. I always found that a little strange, but I guess not.
Well, it's probably because there is a lot of water being dumped up in the hills and it flows down, and also because it's an area that hasn't had much habitation. Not that many people have lived there, so they haven't chopped it down. But you see, I put it almost up to it because I simply assumed that a lot of people from Furundi went there and simply chopped down the trees that were closest to the water.
That's why you got spotty down here.
Exactly. So that's why I had spottier down there, because I thought they were probably taking the trees. That was my main idea.
I usually take care of that.
Yeah, and then up in IUC probably, and I also obscured it by making it dark and gloomy, because I didn't know what details to add. So it's something for future mapping projects too.
Yeah, I note right on IU's back door, he's not going deep into the wood elves, the Greyhawk, and the Beastman Forest area as much. He's not doesn't do well.
Oh, yeah, we have a great question from Gary. No Wystill Lake islands, and it's interesting because there are no islands talked about when it comes to the Wystill. And if Wystill is the deepest, deeper than Lake Quag, then it makes sense that you don't have that many islands. Right. So it's kind of and I didn't know, and also the fractals. This was early on in my Bryce career, so I didn't have that many. And I just went with what the fractals did. So they didn't do that many. I have islands. There's like an archipelago on the western coast, and there's a lot of islands there, so to speak. But on the eastern coast, but it should be. But that's something to add tiny little islands by the coast or something for future updates. Yeah.
Very cool.
But we don't have many islands. Wystill Lake doesn't have much detail at all. It's kind of. It's a lake, it's mentioned and then forgotten about, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, even in Eyes the Evil, they don't really talk about it that much.
Not much. It's not by itself, so to speak. It doesn't have the rainy going around. It doesn't have any culture centered around it or anything like that. So, yeah.
Next, Lake Quag. There's a lot going on around
Exactly.
this.
Lake Quag is much more written about and has way more settlements and Also, when you look at the geography, I get the sense that we have a water-filled rift canyon here.
These lakes all look like pieces of Great Lakes just plopped in on this map a little bit.
But we have to acknowledge where the original map came from. The inspiration was the Great Lakes, meaning the Lake Near-Div is Lake Superior. So we have to acknowledge where the Greyhawk campaign geography comes from originally. It's North America. So
Right.
Mike, it's appreciated. Thank you. So I mean, this area has been greatly developed through multiple campaigns and all. And so what there's isles in Lake Quag, right? And there's also and there's not a lot in the north. There's not a lot in the tundra.
Not that much, but on the other hand, that's kind of the wolf nomads maybe don't like that much. But we have Ungrabalan, the trade city of the wolf nomads is there, so to speak. It's their, I would say, windows to the world, so to speak. It's their city where they do trade and stuff with the rest of the world. So.
Maybe should a weather of Greyhawk one. Maybe we should do that down the road too.
Yeah.
So Lake Quag is a huge drainage basin, I'm assuming, for all the surrounding mountains.
Exactly. You have mountains on three sides. So that means that there's a lot of stuff. And that means that the Velverdiva that flows out of Lake Quag needs to be big.
I'm going to ask a dumb question.
Yeah.
This kind of almost looks like a huge caldera for a meteor strike.
An enormous one, yes. One of these meteors that kind of, if you look at the moon and Mars, there are basins that are this size.
Okay.
So it's not unheard of. Look at the moon and there's some huge impact. There's one on the side of Mars that I think is even bigger.
Nice.
And it's interesting. On Mars, there is a huge impact on the opposite side of Olympus Mons, the biggest volcano. So apparently we don't know that, but some scientists seem to speculate that if you get like an enormous impact of
one
huge
side,
asteroid, that will cause a shock wave
that's why Olympus Mons is so big.
Exactly. That's one idea that it might happen. It probably depends on planetary physics.
I was just guessing. It's probably not true, but
No, but was a theory that they're thinking about it might happen, and the moon have huge impacts back in the day, so to speak. So yeah, definitely it could be. Yeah.
So this area, and there's so much detail. This area is so well done. And it's remote, but it's well done, which makes it even cooler.
It's kind of cool. You have some lots and lots of, and you have generations of development, and the living Greyhawk really dug into this area a lot, so to speak. And you have some islands in there too, Schleicher's Isle, Flinterlord Island, and the Isle of Clee in the north. So there are some named islands.
So they actually have towns on them.
Exactly. That
this
has
was a walled town or fortress or
Rennerstadt. Yeah. I have a little bit of difficulty, a problem with all the German or Swiss names sometimes. To me, a little bit too much at times, but that's just me. But I love the geography around here. It's kind of cool to work with. It's a lot of fun.
Any other highlights of large? There's a huge delta right here too.
Oh yeah, I played a little bit, and the fractals started creating something. So I just like, okay, let's go with it. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah, let it run. So some of them are, and also some of these rivers are probably very seasonal, meaning they form in spring. When the meltwater up in the mountains, when the snow melts, and then they get huge during spring and early summer, and then they kind of fade away in fall, and they almost dry up during winter, and then they form huge flows again. So that means that towns and settlements and stuff probably have to deal with that. So they have to build flood defenses, and they have to build in a way that they can withstand huge floods. But it also means that if you want to go on warfare, you don't put siege to a town along a river like that in spring. The war season starts in summer and ends in fall, so to speak. So you have like the siege and warfare season is probably starts in June, maybe, or something like that, or whatever months that will be in Greyhawk, I forgot, but starts in summer and ends in fall.
I think I found an anomaly of Pearland has more than anything else. Pearland has more bridges on this map than anywhere else.
Yeah,
I mean,
and
everywhere. Look at this.
Yeah,
There's
that's
bridges everywhere.
Yeah, and that's
all
because,
over the place.
yeah, and
Wow.
I put bridges when there's a road passing where there's no settlement.
Right.
I put a bridge because if there's a bridge there, if there's no bridge, then you have to just get your feet wet, so to speak, and stuff. So
yeah. Pretty neat. Okay, so
where is Quag Keep?
Quag Keep, hang on a second.
There's a
here.
Quag Road, so
yeah, it should be, hang on a second. I don't know exactly where that is. I haven't read the module yet, or the book yet, so I have to read the book to place it. So
it's not on the map.
I don't know.
So so exactly. It's not on the map. It's on my to-do list. So yeah, and I need to sit down and read the book so I can know where it is.
Anyone in the audience know where Quag Keep's
exactly. If
supposed
someone
to go?
can tell me where to place it, please. Yeah.
There's a big.
I think we would know that by now.
Well.
Yeah.
Who wrote that book? Is that the oldest book?
Yeah. I forgot which one.
Andre Norton.
And that goes back in the early 80s, right?
It came out again, I think, and I think I have a copy here somewhere.
They
so,
had a sequel.
Yeah, Norton. Thank you. Yep.
No, a lot of people haven't read it.
No, same here. So, and I need to read it. So, yep.
And you never know.
It comes with a map. Though.
It may go right over top of one of these settlements, just like we have on a river over here with Barduk and Castle Hart, right?
Yeah.
On the river. They're in the same spot.
But there's one anomaly with Lake Quag and Belvedere that we need to address when we get into these kind of weird discussions on geography and that has to do with rivers. And meaning the Belvedere flows out through high mountains.
Right here.
Meaning if it were real world geography, the river would flow out northwest or something like that would be the most obvious. So that means that there needs to have been a change in geography fairly recently, that has somehow or crack or something. So it's kind of
Doesn't that mean just like the Colorado made the Grand Canyon because plate tectonics? This is rising.
But look at it. The Grand Canyon is cut out down from the surrounding terrain. There's no mountains sticking up. When you come towards the Grand Canyon, you just see a plain. And then when you come towards it, you see the river has cut down. The river was flowing on a flat plain and then cut down through it, so to speak. But here you have rivers surrounded by mountains. And north you have no mountains. And to me, that tells me that the tiger and wolf nomads needs to be really high up.
Oh.
Otherwise, that river would have not, the Lake Quag would drain somewhere else, so to speak. That means that the tiger nomads and the wolf nomads is a high plateau, not Tibetan high, but high, so to speak, really high. In order to otherwise the Lake Quag will not be that big lake, and it will definitely not drain south. And it also can tell us a little bit that the Klatsbergs and stuff might also be younger mountains. They might be already forming right now through some interesting fantasy tectonics or something like that that can make that happen. Meaning the river was there before the mountain got really tall. That's another possibility. So the river kept cutting through the mountains as they're growing, so to speak. That's another possibility.
Be safe, Anonson. He said tornado sirens here. Yeah, that's fine.
Yep.
Please do.
Yep.
So, Michael Mospart, Michael Vamoku, Crystal Springs in northern Nyrond. Somewhere here.
Yes, that's an interesting.
Where am I? Am I close?
Oh, you close.
I see it. I see it. I see it.
You're close. Yeah, you're close. And that's the interesting, because now we're talking the Franz River. It's one of these anomalies, and it's a river that, and it runs into the Nurduv and the Nesser as a huge river on the map, but then it just starts from nowhere, so to speak. It doesn't have any big tributaries or nothing, so it just and so what they did was that to explain it, they just said Crystal Springs, and the river just comes from the ground.
Oh, is that what this is? Okay.
Yeah. So they just, because someone probably looked at the map and say, where do the Franz River come from? It doesn't have a tributaries. It doesn't come from the flow from the mountain. It just pops on the middle in Nurdiv, or sorry, on the Niron in the middle of the plains. All of a sudden the river starts. And the only meaning the Mississippi kind of starts that too, but that means that it has huge tributaries that forms the gigantic Mississippi, and the Nile the same way, meaning you have the White Nile and a whole bunch of others, and the Amazon also starts down in the, but it has huge tributaries that are big rivers in themselves that kind of flows together and create the major river. But the Franz River has, it starts in the plains.
Probably should just kept going up the parent.
Exactly.
To the Pale.
Yeah. So what I did was that, and I recognized the mistake too late. And here comes one of the things that I think about changing, but now I need the community to tell me which way to go. So if you look here, you have the Franz River, and north of it, you have the Artonsamai. And what I did was that, without thinking too much, I just added a smaller river that flows through in the Pale, so to speak. So the Rakers drains into the Artonsamai.
Okay.
And then I realized a couple of years later, what the heck, with the Franz River, it needs to come from somewhere. So now I added in a drainage. So the Franz drains from the Gamboge forest.
I see that right here.
Yeah, and drains in. So I put in a bunch of, and then Crystal Springs. So we can have a little bit of both.
So you've solved the issue.
I solved the issue to a degree, but I think it would have been more appropriate if the Franz would have continued up into the Pale, maybe, but now I have it this way, so I'm probably just going to keep it for consistency. So yeah.
Do we have river gods in Greyhawk? We have sea gods.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Patty asks if there's a river god. The Backlunish pantheon has Geshtai, lakes,
Geshtai,
rivers,
that's it.
and wells.
Yeah. Yes, Geshtai.
Good.
Backlunish, but not Iridian or Sul.
No.
Which
Gamboge.
Wind
Gamboge.
gods, agriculture gods.
Gamboge. How do you pronounce it, Anna?
Gamboge. That's how I usually said it, but yeah, but I don't know. It's I'm Swedish speakers originally, so I started Gamboge. Yeah. That's how I called it back in the day. Gamboge. Now I don't. Yeah.
So this is. I think it's fine with what you did here. Adding.
Well, I tried to smooth over the ugliest bits, so to speak. I did it gradually over time. So yeah.
So underground springs, interesting. So there's got to be something.
Underground
else.
Springs are, meaning there are real precedents for it. I mean, you have rivers that flow underground,
right?
Especially in areas that have soft rock, like limestone, for instance. Meaning some minerals dissolve in water, especially limestone. So we have a lot of water flowing through it. It will carve out an opening, and almost every type of rock eventually gives way to water, so to speak. So when water seeps through it, but especially soft like sandstone and lime and stuff like that, water can easily cut through those rocks in thousands of years and not millions. So yeah.
It's the ever mysterious Tim. Sword training night. Oh, you're back to doing that. That's good.
Yeah.
Did you kill anyone? Cut any limbs off? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
She's a freshwater goddess, Troy.
Yep, you better practice up there, Tim. You gotta let me know about Sunday too. I got Josh on standby, but
sounds like the perfect excuse for not showing up to a game is swords training. So.
Yeah, sword training, only simulated, no critical hits. So that's Michael von Mogul. I'm glad you brought this up. I'd never even noticed that there were actual underground springs feeding a river.
So I put it somewhere, and it's
he has been Mike. He's like a master. So. With whatever it's called, armor or whatever it is. So sorry, I don't know, Tim. Very cool question.
Yep.
So the granddaddy of them all.
Yep. And what The lake that is the first one mentioned in the oldest of sources, I think, must be Mist Lake in the Mist Marsh in near Greyhawk, so to speak. That must be the lake that is the oldest in setting lore, so to speak. That's my guess. Apart from Near Div itself. So when it comes to after Near Div, I wouldn't be surprised if Mist Lake is one of the, at least when it comes to part where apart from the big ones, the big three.
Where's I'm sorry, Tim's got me
Mist
distracted.
Lake.
Mist Lake, Mist March, southeast of Greyhawk.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And here is one other anomaly.
Oh, I didn't even realize that there's a lake attached to the marsh. Holy
Lake.
schmoly.
Yeah, Mist Lake is there. Yep.
Okay.
And it's and here's another one of these anomalies that pops up frequently in Greyhawk, and that is there is several marshlands that drains into two river systems, and both the Swamp River and the Neen River drain. So the Mist March drains, and just like lakes naturally don't drain over time, only drains into one. The same goes with marshlands because they're just a lake full of material more than water, so to speak. So there is the precedent, but there's other. Rushmore, for instance, drains into two, and there's several others, and Amedio is full of weird rivers that flows into.
So is the Mist Lake on the original map?
Hang on a second. Let's see. If
Or
it's
on the Free City Graph box set map? I don't.
No, it's in the. I think it's in the From the Ashes.
Okay, then they added it. I don't
in
remember
that map,
being.
Yeah, in that map, that one is definitely.
Yeah,
there.
I know Free City
But it might have been.
All right.
The Free City box set, I don't think it ever went.
It just said Miss Marsh. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's wow, and you just brought that to my attention. I mean, wow.
And then you have the other little Diamond Lake there.
Of course, Diamond Lake is like legendary in our game.
Exactly.
I mean,
That's a small one that was added in during Pisahawk.
Yeah,
Pisahawk.
That's ours. And we're venturing up. We're venturing up here tomorrow. We're venturing in this area, so we're not far. We're not far. So. And
there's another little lake that I haven't named that I added. I've added probably a couple of a couple of 100 lakes that are roughly just under 30 miles across.
And the Doom Grinder almost goes through it, just misses it.
Exactly. So that might stop it. So yep.
Yeah. Bang my head.
Yeah. So I added in my mapping, there are a couple of 100 lakes that are roughly around 30 miles. And that was the biggest I could do to get away with that they were not on the Darlene map, so to speak, because Darlene map has things that are smaller than 30 miles across is not even on the Darlene map at all. So that's why there's a lot of lakes that are that kind of small.
Yar Lake? Where's Yar Lake? What are you talking about, Tim? Yar Lake? I don't know.
Yar Lake.
Well, you got a lot of lakes in the that you added in here. You got this one.
Oh yeah, I added a whole bunch of them, and especially in Northern Viluna. There is a bunch of big. That's probably Northern Viluna is one of the most lake dense areas, and Ket also has a lot of lakes in it. And
well, let's do. It's the one Tim added.
Oh yes,
right.
Oh,
up.
Yeah, not. Let's see, Split Rock and stuff is up
here,
there somewhere.
Up here, up here, right? This.
Yeah, there's a little lake
it's
there.
Up here.
So,
yeah. All right, there you go. Yep. The stone circle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's got to be added to my map too, Tim. You are right. You are correct there, Tim. All right, so Viluna, you said there's a ton of wow.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So Northern Viluna and Ket is these areas that I added a bunch of lakes.
Because Viluna is just like green on the Darlene map with nothing else, right?
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
But I added it for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's in areas that has lots of mountains, meaning there's a lot of drainage. And also it's in that area that warm to mid-side temperate areas, meaning there is not that much evaporation. It's comparatively mild climate, so you don't get like the cold freezing of the north. So it's both rainy, but also not hot and sunny, so it doesn't evaporate quickly. And those things leads to a lot of big. So if you look at the real world, there are two areas that you have lots of really big rivers down in the tropics and also in temperate areas. Like you have like the Amazon, the Mississippi, the Volga, the Congo and stuff. The biggest rivers in the world are usually either in the tropics or in temperate areas. Those are in desert areas, there are some big rivers, but they usually comes from the tropics and then flow through the desert, like the Nile, for instance. But so the northern Valluna and Kit are where I think it was ripe for having. So there's a lot of lakes that are about 20, 30 miles across that aren't named. So yeah, around there. There's like 10 or 15
Is this
of them.
Fall of Mists? Where's this from?
It's from Living Greyhawk, I think.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
All right, so there we got something
And
added in there.
Yeah, so there's some of the biggest waterfalls in the Flannis are probably there too.
I mean, that's the first note. Is there another waterfall that's named?
No, I don't think so. That's the sad part. The waterfalls, it's just like lakes and stuff. They get overlooked.
Yeah.
So, but it's because there should be some around that river that flows into the. For instance, go to Molvar in Kett. There you have the river that flows from the Black Hammer Vale and then
down here
through the Crestable Streck and into Molvar. There should be some massive waterfalls coming into Molvar from the mountains there.
You can almost feel the slope down in that. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it goes from really high. So there should be a series of really big waterfalls, especially in spring. There should be gigantic waterfalls. So, yeah.
Excellent.
So there, and I put some lakes in
there's a lot of them.
Kett there too. Yep.
Kett, note that when you look at the original map, you think Kett and Valluna are kind of boring, but now they're not. There's a lot going. I mean, there's a lot of different geography here that's been added in.
Yeah, when you fill in the details that should be there geographically due to climate, where the mountains are, etc., then there's a lot of possibilities.
The detail just
there.
Pops at that point.
Yep.
So.
And the Sheldamar Valley is another one that has some lakes. In Grand Marsh, for instance, that was more like came from the fractals. I put there is a big lake there that is like 30, 40 miles across up in Grand Marsh.
You got lakes in Saline too.
Oh yeah, Saline. The reason for that was that I wanted Saline to look a bit like a paradise with meadows and lakes and little rivers and a cute land, so to speak, full of nature wonder, so to speak. So that's why I also made it a color that sticks out, that is almost magical green, so to speak. So it's kind of it's just my little tinkering with the palette.
Very cool.
Or palette, or the colors. Yep.
All right. So while we have time here, let's talk about the greatest lake of them all, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Lots going on here. I mean, you have a huge island where you have a capital.
Mm-hmm.
You got military.
Former capital. It used to be the capital, but then later on it was dethroned and Critwall became the capital.
Right. You got Radagast City, major city. You got all sorts of locations all around it and divers.
Yeah, we have some of the biggest cities.
What's that? What's that, Mike?
Major islands.
Major islands. You have waterways in and out. You don't know how deep it is. You got monsters. You got Rennie. There's a lot going on here.
Yep.
So, and it is Lake Superior, right? Looks just like it almost. So. Yeah,
it's kind of based on Lake Superior. Yeah. Then they tweaked it over the various.
Fresh salt. I think this is fresh water.
That was one of the theories I wanted to tell, because in the real world we have, since it's so deep that if it's so deep that it's like really, really deep, that means that to me that it probably was before it became a lake, it was part of the ocean. That's my theory, so to speak, because it can open up, because we have the Rift Canyon too. So there's two ways you can go. You can either say that originally it was part of some sort of ocean, and then gradually the land opened up or tweaked around and it became locked in, like the Caspian Sea to some degree. And then gradually it became fresher and fresher because there was all this inflow from the river. So then it becomes like a even more than the Baltic Sea. It becomes a brackish water with just a little bit salty, but the salt water is at the bottom. So if you by the surface, you will probably, it will be fresh water, but if you dive down into it, it might be salty. That's one way of going. Or you can simply say, no, it's just like the Rift Canyon. It opened up one day not too long ago, and then all the rivers kind of flew into it, and it filled up, and that's it. So you can go either way.
The Black Sea is in reverse. Everyone theorized the Black Sea was a lake that got filled in right when that land bridge broke. Well, and then that's why it has the dead zones deep, right? There's no oxygen.
And also it's kind of interesting because the Black Sea is part of the Mediterranean system, and the Mediterranean has dried out several times over, because occasionally the Straits of Gibraltar closes up, and what happens then evaporates away, and then the Black Sea slowly will lose its water too, because it's part of the same system. So the inflow is not big enough, so then it will eventually drain out. And then when the Straits of Gibraltar opened up again, water gushed in, and it became back and forth. So that has kind of shaped Black Sea, I think, to a large degree too, just like the Mediterranean. And we don't know. You can go either way with the narrative. In my campaign, I want to have it a little bit of both ways, meaning it was a long time ago, maybe millions of years ago, it was part of the ocean, and that means that deep down it is salty or brackish, but the surface water is fresh enough that you can drink it. But there are sea monsters down in there, so to speak, that has been there since the inception, and it might even be tied into the ocean due to the plane of water and stuff. So you can have, like, it's so deep that it's bottomless effectively. It goes into the plane of water, and meaning it ties into the planetary or the inner planes of water. So therefore you have all sorts of cool stuff can show up in the depth of the Nerdiv, and at the surface too in some areas. But so Nerdiv I have as the contrast, because we have areas, and thanks to Troy, who detailed it even more, we have now a shallow western part and central part, and then we have two deep holes. A big deep hole in the eastern part that is so deep no one knows how deep it is, and then a fairly deep western part too. So there's like a land or like a shallow bridge going from the Dragonhead Peninsula in Greyhawk all the way out to the Walworth Isles. So Nerdiv has two, a western lake and an eastern lake, so to speak. Yeah, so it has two. When it comes to its hydrology, it has a western part and an eastern part, and the further west and east are the shallow ones. So down by the southeast, from Nystrand and High Mardra down to Lakeish, it's kind of a shallow lake, and also the very western part near Div and along the Forundian coast. It's also and the Shieldland coast. They also have a shallow lake, so to speak. And then you have other parts that are really, really deep. So it has, when it comes to lakes, it seems like Nerdiv has it all. It has everything from shallow to depth, and it has the size that it's like an inland ocean, like the Caspian. It's big enough to generate its weather. It's big enough to get lost at sea, because if you're in the middle of it, you can go for a day before you can sail for a day without seeing the land anywhere. And the biggest lake I've been to has been Lake Vänern in Sweden, that is 200 miles long and no, about 160 miles. It's 200 kilometers long and 160 kilometers wide. And if you're out in the middle of it, you don't see land anywhere, and you can sail for an hour or so without seeing it. And the waves can get really big. And so that means that Nerdiv can have weather like an ocean and waves like an ocean.
Well, yeah, and you know, Lake Superior and all those,
exactly,
they're dangerous, you know.
Yep.
A lot of ships are lost.
Yep. Yeah. And in the winter, when the climate is the really coldest of winters, then you probably get a little bit of ice along the northern coast. here and there in the bays and stuff. You probably get a little bit of ice, but I don't think it freezes over. That's something we haven't discussed, but I think that the Lake Quag is probably the one that freezes over fully, so to speak, for two reasons.
From what I read, Quag is the icy one.
Yeah.
Wyestel's the cold one, and the Near Div is the temperate one. That's why where the Reni go.
Yeah. And there's two reasons I think that Lake Quag, or three reasons that Lake Quag is the one that freezes over. One is that it's the one that has it's the opening in the mountains is from the north. So when you get air flowing in, it comes from the north. That means that you get northern cold winds. The other reason is that it's the highest of the lakes. I get Near Div is probably at sea level or only a few feet above sea level. And Wyestel is probably not much, maybe a few 100 feet or so, but not by much. These are flatland lakes in that sense. But Lake Quag, I would guess that is much higher because Belvedere needs to flow downhill all the way to the ocean, so to speak. So Lake Quag is maybe 1,000 feet above sea level, or maybe even more. So there's all these reasons, and the other reason is that Lake Quag is deep, probably, and deep enough that it's cold all year round. It doesn't get warmed up by the sun much, so it's probably cold. And in winter, it probably freezes over, like Baikal. It freezes over completely, and that makes it interesting because in the winter you can probably put like you can put like skis on various contraptions, and you can do like sails with sleds with skis on it or something like that across the Lake Quag very, very easily in winter, because you get like a perfect flat area to go on sleds and stuff across, so using wind power and stuff. So Lake Quag is probably a busy place in winter too.
Good point there. So anything else? I know you've talked about in previous. If a lake is too small, hey Mandy, it can't act like a heat battery.
Exactly, that's true. Very true. And be small. Then you have a couple of things. You have surface area and you have depth. It's the volume of the lake that is also part of it, so to speak. So a surface, a lake that is very big but has have a lot of surface area compared to its depth will not retain much heat. But on the other hand, it doesn't warm up much either. So lakes add, so I think there must be some sort of perfect sweet spot between depth versus sun thing, and also, so some lakes they really act like a battery. In Sweden is Lake Vänern, that is not the size of the big lakes in North America, but probably about a third of Lake Michigan in size, I think. And it's the biggest lake in Europe, and it's it retains a lot of heat, and the climate is noticeably warmer in the fall and early winter around the lake. But in spring, you get the opposite. Then the climate is colder near the lake because the lake kept the winter cool around, just like it keeps the summer warmth. So it's just like the ocean that way. You get a more stable all year round climate. If you're really far away from water, you get a climate that is usually very hot in summer and very cold in winters.
So that's why Europe with the jet stream is got more temperate than
exactly. And also you have Europe is surrounded by water, meaning if you take like the Midwest, for instance, then you're far away from oceans. That means that you get inland climate with hot, dry summers and cold winters. And it's just like parts of Russia and Siberia also have inland climate. But the Europe is more like the northeast coast, like from Nova Scotia down to Virginia or something like that.
Very cool.
Yep.
So,
I'm sorry if I go on.
No, this
like
is
crazy
great,
here.
Anna. It makes Mike's life and mine very easy on this one here on the waterways. I learned something already tonight. I never knew that there was a lake here on this side of the Miss Marsh. Never noticed it.
Yep, it's a lake there.
Yeah. So that's very cool. and you have your theories that this because of the way this works in the two rivers flowing in and out, that this is actually the gorge is actually a canal.
Yeah, we have a good point here by XL 809 that Europe is a lot warmer due to the Gulf Stream.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, and those are like rivers in the ocean.
Yep.
Because the oceans have a lot, and that was something when I started looking at the climate, I wanted to figure out what the ocean currents were. So I put in the equivalent of the Gulf Stream flowing up eastern side of the Hepmona land along the Solnor coast all the way up, because that way you get that creates tropics in the northern of the Hepmona land, and it creates the reason for the wet climate all the way up to the Ratik, so the timberway and the forest up there, so to speak. So yeah,
Calstaff is looking at the Quag Keep book. It's in the Sea of Dust. It's not
okay.
even,
There you go. There we
don't have to worry about putting it anywhere.
Oh, good. I can. Thank you.
Flip.
But then I need to read the book so we can know where we can put it in the Sea of Dust. So But thank you. Yep.
So please, everyone, sit tight for some really cool announcements tonight. I did announce something earlier, but I'm going to announce something pretty major. I think there was only about 30 people on when I made this major announcement.
Okay,
we got
put
some
in
good
there
stuff. So as we're wrapping up here, a huge mega announcement. Yeah, big time, like top. Casey, I don't think heard it either. So this was a very interesting discussion going into how the rivers work. Anna added some neat things on that. Where there's anomalies, Anna's corrected them, especially since we, this one Michael von Moku specifically mentioned didn't make sense, but Anna's kind of addressed it. And so, and to note with her the Altamira project we're doing, where you add in streams, you can do that almost anywhere on your map, which is good.
Yep.
Note that just because, like, say you're playing in Ernst and you're like, well, I'm here, and I have something going on here. Well, there can always be streams running. You can add them yourself.
Yeah, and I added specifically a few through cities and stuff that was there, because that kind of made sense that a city is built along a waterway, so to speak. But we have another good question here from Excel 809, the geothermals and if we have like Yellowstone. And yes, we do have a Yellowstone like that is mentioned in the Gord books.
Yes.
And that is the city of Inspa.
Yeah.
And Inspa is full of geysers and hot baths and stuff like that due to geothermal.
Again?
It's in Niron, eastern Niron, near Nurl.
There it is.
Yeah. So that is described by Gary Gygax. It lives up to its name, and it even has a geyser on its symbol. So it's so Inspa is a city of inns and spas, so it has a geothermal activity up there with geysers and stuff, and hot geothermal activity and stuff. So, and I bet that there's a bunch of other places that has it too, but that's the one that stands out because it's described that way in the Gord books. Yep.
So you don't need to have a super volcano to have thermal vents. We just do in Yellowstone.
Exactly, but Yellowstone is one of these dormant things, meaning you can live all your life in Yellowstone and not see a volcano.
Right.
But you don't realize you live on top of a super volcano, but it only erupts every 10 million years or so.
Well,
so you don't need to worry.
They've done, because of the plates now, they think that it won't, if it erupts, it'll be minor. They think that another major won't happen for 900,000 years.
Yeah, so it's good. Yeah, most volcanoes aren't active on a daily basis, and some of them are not even active on a 1,000-year basis.
We got that.
But it's cool, so you can definitely. But we have areas with a lot of volcanoes, like the Pomarsh, for instance. We have volcanoes. We have the White Plume Mountain is another area. You can have surrounding their area. You can have all sorts of geothermal volcanic activities near, and the whole Rift Canyon seems to me to have geological activities in abundance, so to speak.
Which can all be developed. I mean,
you can use it also.
And there is a volcano here, active. So.
Yep.
Yeah. A spa episode.
Yeah, we can have a spa episode. Yep.
Well, you saw the name of the title of the adventure, Mandy, Deception. So you can think about whatever that means. I'm mind gaming you guys majorly now.
Yep.
So hopefully this got into a really in-depth discussion, and I was excited about this one, just knowing that I would learn stuff I did not know, and that definitely happened. That definitely happened. You know,
Yeah,
Mike.
this is one of these world building episodes,
Yeah.
so to speak, when it comes to geography, world building. Yep.
Yeah. No good deed.
I'm sorry if I babbled too
No,
much.
no, you did not, and no hot tub streams,
Sam
please.
is
That's the last thing I need. The hot tub stream.
They are allowed on Twitch, aren't they?
Yeah, I'm not. I've heard I'm selling out having a trivia show. So yeah.
Okay, there you go.
What?
But well, it's gonna be
It's
fun.
cool.
If you think that it's gonna be just all rules, you guys are well. We'll talk about that in a second. So yeah. Oh my God, can you imagine? So yes.
Well, thank you, Dean. Yeah, I hope this was interesting. It was world building with the Greyhawk as the test bed, so to speak, and talking about it. And I think this is only meaning waterways and lakes and topics of that geographical nature is only one leg that you need to stand on when it comes to world building. Then you have all the social and all the gods and knightly orders and whatever. But geography is one key ingredient in your world building for your campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And just note that you do not have to go this in depth to do Greyhawk DMing in here.
No.
But if you are one of those that really want to know how things work and want to really have some detail, it's okay. Both ways. Yeah. But if you want to run Hamlet, or you want to run Salt Marsh, or you want to run Ghost Tower, you don't have to.
you don't have to think about it at all. Yep.
You don't have to. You don't have to do that at all.
Yep.
I mean, you know,
and don't look at it as a hindrance, so to speak. If you want to run whatever hot spring somewhere, do it. It's your campaign.
Absolutely.
But if you want to use it as an inspiration, there is a truckload of stuff to kind of dig from, so to speak, and dig out of. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with it if you want to, but don't let it hamstring you.
So look at that. We're to shout out time. So sit tight. We will do 2 sets of giveaways of classic prints. Thank you for all the support and a ton of gift subs tonight. Really appreciate it as we keep on rocking and rolling here. This is a short 3-stream week, but next week I got 5. So just note, cranking up. I'm gonna have a nice weekend off till Sunday night. You know, we're going tonight, tomorrow, Sunday, and I'll have 5 next week. So let's do some shout outs here, then we'll do the giveaway. I got some major stuff. So what's going on there, Mike?
Well, Jay didn't think we could fill 2 hours on this topic, and he was wrong.
I'm always wrong.
Yeah.
No.
We even had several lakes we didn't even talk about, but that's all right.
That's good, though.
We didn't get to Himona Land. We can have an episode about lakes in Himona Land.
Yeah. And
it's great.
We didn't do a call, but so I have a lot of notes that were untouched, but that's good for next time.
Absolutely. So, Mike, when's your date on when you will be missing on the Wednesdays every other Wednesday? Do we have that yet?
June.
Okay. Yep.
So note mark this down on your calendars. The week of the the week of 19th through the 25th of June, I am away. I'm on a family vacation. But note, the next 2 Wednesdays are on Monday because I got stuff with my son and him. Going to go in junior high next year. There's all this, orientation stuff, and they happen to be on the next 2 Wednesdays. So, yep. But just note, we'll have Legends Lore in the next 2 Mondays. So that's it, Mike. Nothing else.
Go to Greyhawkery. I got another post.
Nice. There we go.
More villains. Yay.
More villains.
More villains.
All land of 1,000 villains. Beautiful.
Villains. Plenty
nice.
Of villains.
Very, very cool. Galar the Vanisher. Oh, a human female. Nice. Gotta love that. Gotta love meanies.
Just like just like Jason used to do. Posting a villain.
Yep. Oh. Villains are awesome.
Yep.
So, yeah. Just note that it's just I can't. I will be not home until 9:30 of both those nights at the earliest. So, Yeah, we'll have some stuff. All right, Anna, what's up?
Well, let's see here. I don't find the post. I'll go from memory here. So I had it written. I posted a lot to my patrons the other day. So yeah, so it's the work on the Atlas is the 576 2022 Atlas is going into its final thing with the index and all the touch up of the cover and the other pieces, so to speak, the credits and stuff. So hopefully by the end of May, early June, that's when we'll have the index and that project will be wrapped up. So there will be a 576 Atlas. And big thanks to Dwayne Costa for doing the index again. So then we know it's getting done the right way. He's fantastic with getting all that sorted out in Excel and going through the map and finding every location and listing them properly and indexing them. So that is coming. So my part there is to create the beautiful the fine. He will send me the Excel and that will be available as well. And then I will actually make the PDF and JPEG version of the index. And when I do that, I will tie that into the legend and stuff. So those work together. So they will come by the end of the month or early June. And also the work on the 598 map has started. So I'm working on that. So I have the first, and I'm basically going through every realm, and I have a couple of hundred change notes that I need to look over. Now I can probably skip Lake Quag, and I probably have to read the damn book anyway to find out if it needs to go in
Sea of Dust.
in the Sea of
It's
Dust.
weird.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, so I have to further investigate and see if I can find someone who read the book or something. We'll see. So that is coming. But and like I read today about the lake of Abenfield and that living Greyhawk adventure, and I find things that I needed to add there. So every time I read something again, there's always something popping up. So there is a couple of locations and a little bit of editing on the map. So see if I can get that in. I might not be able to get all the terrain changes, but we'll see. And so, but that is coming this summer. There is more heraldry. And there is also a little pet project when it comes to heraldry, the Death Knight, the heraldry of the Death Knights. So Gary Julian gave me a lot of input on the stuff, so I'm going to sit down and I did the Myrhal, the prince of Myrhal that is hiding out in the Adri, and his shield is actually depicted in the Living Greyhawk journal on one of the illustrations of it. So that's where I took it from. Now I've actually made that into the updated shield that really looks cool. That's the first one. So there will be a series of the other ones coming too. So that's a pet project thanks to the great help from Gary Julian. We can do a series of the Death Knight heraldry, which I think will be really cool. And then I will continue to update the existing heraldry. I'm at 215 now, I think, and there's about 320 to go. So about 100 more to do. So it will take a couple of more months, but I hope sometime this summer I should be done. So this fall there will be a heraldry compendium and a poster, at least when it comes to heraldry. And also I will not go to D&D in a castle this year. So yeah, I had to, for several reasons, time related, work related, and stuff like that, I had to unfortunately cancel. It will be a memory of a lifetime, but we'll see if I get a future chance. But the good thing with this is that now I have a whole bunch of Shieldlands material that I can now dish out to all you guys, and I started to my patrons by releasing the stats for the abyssal troll. I use the abyssal trolls, and there will be more to come. So there will be maps, backstories, heraldry, NPCs, monsters, and more coming. So I will simply kind of dish out that in pieces over the rest of the year, so to speak. And also awesome. The work on the Altamira maps have started.
Yes.
Yep. So that's a segue to you, Jay. Yep.
All right. I'm going to do my quickie stuff here. Tomorrow night, Back to Iron Fury, Portents of a Great Apocalypse, Part 4. The Prelude and all adventures to the redoing of the shitty Groom Doom Grinder, right? All right, so we're out in the Cairn Hills again. The group is being hired by 2 gnomes from Grossekrodel to go to an old keep deep in the Cairn Hills to clear it so that it could be utilized for some purpose. So announcement, I'm getting there. Getting there. Regular hero point, Casey. That's for me, right? So there you go. Thanks. That's Thursday. Sunday night, awesome thing. The play test of Lord Gazumba's D&D Trivia Challenge. Don't think it's just me asking questions. We're gonna have some fun here, and the audience will be partaking. The audience will not be answering questions, but the audience will be vested from the 4 guests, and we'll go over that night. Mandy's on it, King Bashman, Darling Creepshow, and the ever mysterious Tim with Zarathon Josh as a backup, just in case. So, I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you what I'm including or what not. So there you go. Tim has been trying to weasel stuff out of me for 2 weeks, and I can't tell you. It's going to be it's going to be so that it's fair for everyone. So don't worry. Don't worry about that. And then note, we have 5 streams next week. We got to get a banner for a fantasy mapping show, Anna. So this is the schedule next week. Monday night will be Legends and Lore. Okay, next week. Monday night's Legends and Lore. I think we're going to do like fighters, paladins, and rangers or something like that. Does that sound good? We're going to do the named fighting people. Sound good, Mike? We haven't done that yet, right? That'll be the good. Monday night instead of Wednesday because I got stuff with my son next Wednesday, orientation for junior high. So we'll go Monday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday next week. Okay, because we'll have that, and then we'll continue my adventure, and then we have fantasy mapping show. Then we have the great Ed Greenwood on, and that is on Saturday. Ed Greenwood, Alyssa Faden's our special guest. She's playing a paladin. Tony Winslow, Eric Boyd, Anna, and Eric Mengi for 2 drink minimum, and that is next Saturday, a week from Saturday. And then we'll have Gavin on Sunday, and then on the 11th, June 11th, we have the return of the Slav Squat Squad, and I'm working on a special guest for this. All right, and I put TBD down, but I'm calling it Deception just to mess with them mind game wise. All right, so that's what's going on. So what is the big announcement? A lot of you heard this. I've said it. Yes, your name is up there so much because I love you so much, Mandy. There you go. I said this earlier. This is like crazy world, but it worked kind of. I made some contacts. Stephen Chenault made some contacts with WotC, and we actually have written correspondence and documentation with WotC for our Altamira project. So we didn't get everything, but we are allowed to, and WotC told us how to do it. We're going to publish, the Free City of Altamira is going to be published and aired, full box set. We're going to go for Kickstarter, huge, we're going to try and make this the biggest publication we can, but Troller Games is going to publish an addendum that'll be a free download where it converts what certain specifics of the Altamira into Greyhawk, and we're allowed to advertise it. We're allowed to do, so we're allowed to publish technically a Greyhawk addendum. They've given us permission for Altamira. There you go. Yes. How that happened, right place, right time. They were in good mood. I think, honestly, Mike Merle's helped. I think Mike Merle's and Ray Winger was very generous. Ray really respects Troller Games. I think having Troller Games doing this project was huge, and so they've given us So it will be. Just note when that comes out, it'll be placed and aired, and there's very little I'm going to have to change because a lot of my stuff has no published source in it now for Greyhawk at all. But there'll be some changes, so that is how we'll handle it. Mm-hmm. All right. So no problem. I mean, we're going to be reaching out to some people for some Kickstarters and some other things, and that's what's going on. So just note that's the huge. Thanks, Curtis. Thank you, everyone. It's great news. So we got, and WotC's the one that told us how to do it, so that we were good. So can't get any better than that. So note we're really starting to crank up.
And there might be kumquats too if Stephen Chenault's tree can give us some
Thank you, Casey.
kumquats. Yep.
So note that what WotC is not. They were amenable, which
Yep.
leads me to believe, and they're not asking for any money either, so it's good. Best of both worlds.
Yep.
Thank you. So note, we're all excited about that. We're going to try and make it the best possible publication we can for all of you, so it can be utilized in your game, and it'll hopefully lead. Oh, thank you. It'll hopefully open up to other possibilities for everyone, and that's the whole idea behind this project.
Yep.
So that's the announcement. All right, let's do the. All right, so let's do the giveaways. 2 of them. All right, here we go. Last call. Please note that we're going to be reaching out to some people because we're going to have a lot of projects coming up. We're also going to have to plan for Virtual GrowCon soon for streamers. I'm thinking about extending it to a 4th day to make it a Thursday to include everyone. Yeah, just for the streaming purposes, not for event signups, but for streamers. Yeah, to have content. All right. It's exclamation point drawing, Acid. And good to see you, man. You'll get, if you already have this, we'll substitute it, but you'll get your Greyhawk Adventure Begins, the 2.5 Roger Moore publication, and then your choice of one of these great modules from, and these are all the 3rd edition, but they're fantastic. You can convert them real easy. Necromancer game stuff. I love this stuff. That's why I've been giving out. Drawing, exclamation drawing, Acid, exclamation drawing. So I'm not doing a week-long con. My wife will kill me. No, 4 days. We can do 4. So exclamation drawing and boom, exclamation drawing. Closing it out in 30 seconds there. There you go. Good, I got everyone in. All right, here we go, 2 winners. So we'll see you tomorrow night, 7:30. Tomorrow night's Portrait Workshop giveaway for an actual full beta, right? So that's what tomorrow our latest sponsor is giving that away. So
it's a great tool.
It's a great tool. Anna and I both have it, and Tino has it, and a couple other people have it, and it's awesome. All right, here we go. First winner for this. Justinius 1. I know you're on. I just saw you. So Justinius, you tell me which one of the 4 you have. I recommend, well, they're all good. So if you want mega, this one has, look, Dweeblix is on the cover. How more mega can it get? That's Chaos Rising. So you let me know, Justinius, which ones you want with that. And then, yeah, exactly. Divorce Con. That's funny. Second winner. Yeah, you get you're getting Adventure Begins and one other. I'm giving you 2 things. You get 2. Because yes, courtesy of Patrick, Canadian Gamer, second winner. Uncle Fuzz. Uncle Fuzz. Uncle Fuzz. As long as you're on the claim, it's yours. You tell me which one you want out of the second book, and make sure I have both your names and address. Chaos Rising, Moric Mansion. Durgam's Folly, that's by Mike Merles, and A Lamentation of Thieves. All good. You can't go wrong with any of them. So if you want Mega Chaos Rising, if you want a typical, fighting against bugbears, Moric Mansion, Durgam's Folly is cool. I have that placed in Shieldlands, and then A Lamentation of Thieves is kind of a very interesting adventure. So let me know, both of you. Good. You got, okay, there you go. Fuzz, I have your address, right? I should, and if I don't, just please put it in their Discord or in Lamentation. God, see how easy that was. All right, let's read into Stella, who played just recently in our game, in our great new recruits game. So let's raid into her, and we'll go from there as far as having a nice evening here. Thank you all for a great night. Please keep the faith with Greyhawk. Things can happen, and we're hoping that this is the floodgate that they go, oh my gosh, this is pretty good, and from there, WotC starts looking our way a little bit. It's a whole, I know I'm a idealist, but I think we got a shot here. So you got a bunch of whispers too.
Oh, okay. Right. I need to log in again.
See you all tomorrow night, 7:30. We're gonna have it's gonna be a high combat adventure. Obviously, we saw some of the pictures, but we'll see you soon. Have a great night, and thank you for the support tonight. It was wonderful. Am I gonna hit the right button? And Sunday night, watch Mandy. Will Mandy come in last? Hopefully not. Or Tim, or Bashman, or Darling. It's gonna be fun. Trust me, it's gonna be it's gonna be a mix of social media and D&D and all sorts of things. All right, raid into Mandy. Mandy. Sorry, man. If you want, I raid into you. Raid into Stella. Say hi. Give her a follow, please. See if we can get like over 75. That'd be awesome. That's good. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. See you tomorrow night. Awesome. All right, let's see if it works. Dun, 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 dun. Video. Oh, I hit the wrong button. I mean, just on my Twitch. I wanted to get right in over to the raid.